Tonight, Dave opens up the CBS mailbag from Dawson's Creek, Joshua Jackson, New York Giants running back Tiki Barber, and an all-new Top 10. First, your local news.
I'm Manuel Gallegos in Washington. American troops are coming together in the Middle East as the president tries to shore up the economy. We'll have the story coming up.
This is a rare view of Ground Zero tonight from the fighter jets patrolling the skies over New York.
Plus, Yale marks a major milestone, celebrating its 300th birthday with a star-studded gala. Good evening, I'm Denise DeCenzo alongside Dennis House.
The Night Beat starts right now.
Now, Eyewitness News Night Beat.
Good evening. The U.S. continues to build support for its war on terrorism and build its case against the prime suspect, Osama bin Laden.
Officials say there is evidence connecting some of the suicide hijackers to the associates of the ostracized Saudi exile. Sources say the evidence shows that some of the hijackers received training at bin Laden camps in Afghanistan.
The White House today issued a fresh warning that Americans remain under threat of new terrorist attacks and have to prepare for casualties in this war.
Meanwhile, American troops are on the move. Some 1,000 Army infantry soldiers have been sent to Uzbekistan, a former Soviet state bordering Afghanistan.
Correspondent Manuel Gallegos has the latest now from Washington.
President Bush wants Congress to act quickly to boost the nation's economy, an economy worn down by terrorism. He's asking for an additional $60 billion in tax cuts to benefit businesses and low to moderate income workers.
We believe if we act expeditiously, that those fundamentals will kick back in and people will be able to find work again.
As the president tries to head off a recession, Defense Secretary Rumsfeld is crossing the Middle East and Asia, gaining support from countries around Afghanistan. Today, Uzbekistan's president agreed to allow U.S. troops to use one of its air bases for staging, but not for an attack.
This is a campaign, a war, a battle against a problem that crosses the globe.
1,000 Army soldiers from Fort Drum, New York are heading to Uzbekistan.
President Musharraf and I have had detailed and very worthwhile discussions.
Britain's Prime Minister Tony Blair is also traveling on behalf of the U.S. He told Pakistan's president that supporting the U.S. will improve his country's standing with the outside world. And Colin Powell met with Georgia's President Edward Shevardnadze, the former Soviet foreign minister, who has first-hand knowledge about war in Afghanistan. And U.S. intelligence officials have told members of Congress that it is highly likely there will be another major attack against the U.S., either at home or abroad. As one official put it, there is a 100% chance of a terrorist attack if the U.S. strikes Afghanistan. Manuel Gallegos, CBS News, Washington.
Investigators in Florida are now tracing the last few days of a man who died today of anthrax. Doctors in Palm Beach County had been treating 63-year-old Bob Stevens with antibiotics, but the drugs were no match for the inhaled and almost always fatal form of anthrax. Now, health experts are combing Stevens' backyard for signs of anthrax, which can be spread by farm animals or soil. Stevens was described as an avid outdoorsman. Doctors stress it's an isolated case and not related to any form of terrorism. Now, the CDC has set up a page with information about anthrax. If you'd like to find out more, you can log on to our website at WFSB.com, click on links, and look for anthrax.
Meanwhile, Congress is trying to pass two very important bills. One would fight future terrorist acts. The other would help the troubled economy.
Despite some last-minute negotiating, Republicans and Democrats are committed to working together, including Connecticut lawmakers.
Channel 3's Susan Raff spoke with some of them, and she's here with that. Susan.
Dennis, stronger and safer is what many Americans want, and lawmakers are prepared to pass these two critical bills. Connecticut lawmakers say Republicans and Democrats are negotiating compromises on both, but the bottom line is they want to act fast to get our country back on track.
We clearly have to pass the strongest anti-terrorism bill we can, consistent with the Constitution. But Republicans and Democrats working together have crafted, I think, a workable compromise.
While Republicans and Democrats support an anti-terrorism bill, there was some concern about civil rights. The bill includes two major changes. allowing the FBI to wiretap a person, not just their phone. It would also give authorities the right to hold someone for 7 days without being charged.
Any means of communication could be wiretapped, whether it's a computer or email or telephone or cell phones, but it would have to go get a court order.
These changes to allow longer detentions by the government without charges and to allow the tapping of a person rather than an instrument are very big enlargements of our investigative powers, but they are essential when you're tracking terrorists.
Congress and the president are also working to stimulate the economy.
I propose that the United States Congress, as quickly as possible, pass tax relief equal to or a little bit greater than the monies that we have already appropriated.
That would mean a tax cut of at least $60 billion. While some Democrats want to focus on unemployment benefits and health care for those who lost their jobs, both parties say it's time to put money back in taxpayers' pockets.
But we have to be careful. This shouldn't become just a Christmas tree of spending. This should become a package that will focus on stimulating people to buy now. That's what you need to get the economy going.
We should point out that holding people for 7 days would only apply to non-U.S. citizens. Currently, authorities can only hold people for 48 hours if they have not been charged. Both of these bills are moving very quickly. The anti-terrorism bill is going on the floor of the House next week, and then the other will go the week after.
Okay, we'll see how everyone votes.
Yeah,
Thanks,
both
Susan.
parties seem very working together, and they're also supporting the president, something you don't see too often.
No.
Good to hear. Thanks, Susan.
Well, tonight the government is ordering airlines to strengthen their cockpit doors within 30 days. The move follows the recommendation of a special task force on airplane security. Up until now, cockpit doors on airplanes have been designed to allow flight crews to escape quickly in an emergency, but that also allowed the terrorists to break into the cockpits and take control of 4 commercial airplanes. A Michigan company plans to sell motorized parachutes as a way to escape skyscrapers. The 2-seater parachutes look like a dune buggy with a propeller on the back. They will fly like a small airplane in a disaster. Executive Chute Corporation of suburban Kalamazoo, Michigan, says the devices will cost $795 each.
Connecticut teachers are now working on some classroom guidelines should there be another terrorist attack. Today they gathered in Trumbull for a summit to talk about a plan for the possibility of another crisis. On the table, basic issues such as whether to turn on the TV in the classroom during a crisis, and much more complicated questions about what to do with hundreds of children if an attack is near or at a school.
Anybody envisioned an incident like this, and I think that one of the things that we're looking at as a district is, you know, how do we go back and somehow include this in an emergency handbook.
2 other meetings are planned to discuss crisis training in our schools. Teachers may pursue federal funding to help with any security changes.
You may not be able to see them, but some of the most sophisticated military jets on the planet are patrolling the skies of the East Coast right now. And they have been doing that since the attacks. Tonight we can show you what the pilots are seeing. The F-15 fighter pilots are based out of Otis Air Force Base on Cape Cod. They have a bird's eye view of New York and beyond. We're going to show you Manhattan as described by a pilot.
There's a little bit of smoke left right there at ground zero. You can see they got those, I guess it's just some sort of tarp or some covering for the other buildings, those red things, because the other windows were all blown out. You can see the other buildings around it are all red.
These jets travel 1,800 miles an hour. They can fly from the Cape to New York in just under 10 minutes.
Cell phone users directly affected by the terrorist attacks are getting a break on their bills. AT&T Wireless says residents in areas affected by the attacks will not have to pay for wireless phone calls, emails, or short text messages that they made on September 11th. Customers in New Jersey, New York, Massachusetts, and Connecticut also will not be billed for calls or messages sent or received that day.
For the next 3 days, Yale will be celebrating 3 centuries of history. The university is marking its 300th birthday on the New Haven campus.
And as Channel 3's Lee Ferlisi tells us, despite the events of the last month, people have come from all over to mark the occasion.
Tightened security met people as they came here to the Yale Bowl to celebrate Yale's 300th birthday. Once they got through those gates, the party here was definitely on.
Happy birthday, Yale. Happy birthday, Yale. Happy birthday, Yale.
Out of the mouths of babes, a birthday wish to one of our country's oldest universities. Yale turned 300 this year, and the university kicked off its year-end celebration with a gala performance. On stage, a tribute to Yale's historic list of alumni that ranged from Noah Webster of the Webster Dictionary to author Sinclair Lewis to both Bush presidents. It was given from today's famous grads, like Law & Order's Sam Waterston.
Here in New Haven and in communities across the globe, they have taught school, ministered to the sick.
So it's not surprising that that one of the top universities would have produced a lot of distinguished people. You'd be surprised if they hadn't.
Paul Simon, an honorary degree holder, also performed. The song, Bridge Over Troubled Water, resonated with the sadness of the devastating events of September 11th, something that the university also recognized. Tomorrow, the festivities continue with a visit from another Yale alum, former President Bill Clinton.
I think that one of his main themes is likely to be interdependence, global interdependence.
President Clinton's speech a highlight for Saturday's events. There were 8,000 tickets available to the Yale community and students, and all 8,000 tickets are gone. In New Haven, Lee Ferlisi, Channel 3 Eyewitness News.
Now, we hope you can stay with us here this Friday. A major merger involving a Connecticut defense giant may be in some trouble tonight. The details are straight ahead.
Also, what became of those missing fuel rods at the Millstone plant? Tonight, we might finally have an answer.
Plus, last night it was Barry Bonds. Tonight, a Connecticut star looks to take his place in the record books.
We've been saying big changes coming up on Saturday for a long time, and here comes Saturday, and the big changes are still going to be taking place. Much cooler weather. I'll tell you all about it in just a few minutes.
You're watching Eyewitness News on Channel 3.
From State House Square in downtown Hartford to New Haven to Norwich, this is Connecticut's news station.
You're watching Channel 3 Eyewitness News Night Beat with Denise DeCinzo, Dennis House, Miles Muzio, and Joe Tessitore. This is Connecticut's news station.
In business news tonight, there is an apparent snag in General Dynamics' bid to buy the Newport News Shipbuilding Company. The board of directors of Newport News has decided to begin talks with defense giant Northrop Grumman. Apparently, the other offer is, quote, superior to General Dynamics' existing offer. General Dynamics is the parent company of submarine maker Electric Boat in Groton.
The Environmental Protection Agency has filed a complaint against a Connecticut manufacturing company. The EPA says the Durham Manufacturing Company underreported the quantities of two chemicals it released into the air back in 1997 and 98. The chemicals used in degreasing and spray painting are toxic if inhaled. The company will pay a $55,000 fine. The operators of the Millstone nuclear power plant say they've made some progress now in solving the mystery of the missing fuel rods. The company now says the two fuel pins missing from the Millstone 1 nuclear power plant are located at one of 4 sites. Engineers doing an inventory last November discovered those rods were missing.
Tonight, the city of Hartford is jammed with conventioneers. More than 14,000 women have traveled from across the country to be in Hartford this weekend for the Women of Faith Conference. This convention is very significant because many other conventions have been canceled due to the attacks.
That focusing on God's great love for people is exactly the right message for times like these.
The two-day conference is expected to pump millions of dollars into the capital city's economy. The one complaint being heard around town, there are not enough hotel rooms downtown.
A new study suggests children of Gulf War veterans may face a higher risk of birth defects. Researchers surveyed about 20,000 Gulf and non-Gulf veterans and found the children of Gulf War vets are 2 or 3 times as likely as those of other vets to have birth defects. Gulf vets also reported more miscarriages. The study is published in the Annals of Epidemiology.
Well, some big changes on the way in the weather department. We're talking the temperature going down.
Oh, yes, we are. Miles will have the latest coming up. The Emmys take center stage this Sunday, but it will be a far different show than in the years past. We'll have details.
And this is also ahead.
Hey, Joe! Crystal Central loves Friday Night Football on the Night Beat. Coming up next!
from the Doppler 3000 Weather Center, Miles Muzio.
Good evening, everybody. Man, has it been nice weather. We've been into the 80s for 3 days in a row. That's quite an accomplishment for October in southern New England, but it looks like this is the end of it. Things are going to begin to cool down. We're down to our last few hours of nice weather. That sounds terrible. It's going to get better next week, by the way. We've had highs today into the 80s, 82 at Enfield, 81 here in Hartford, 70s in many spots, just beautiful weather. Not bad out there right now. Currently, it's partly cloudy, 66 degrees, 87% humidity in the southeast breeze. We're in the 60s at all spots, even the normally cool spots like Salisbury. They're in the 60s as well, so it's mild right now. But changes are coming, and with that usually involves wind, and so that's the case for tomorrow. From 8 a.m. until 2 p.m., there's a wind advisory in effect for the southern half of Connecticut. Winds will be blowing in blusterily from the southwest, anywhere from 30 to 35 miles per hour. Could see some gusts to as high as 45. And the strongest winds will be ahead of the cold front. Once the cold front goes by, the winds will drop off, and so will the temperature. We're in the 60s right now, 72 in New York. Not a bad night anywhere. All the clouds off to the north, but they are getting closer. These clouds will be thickening over the next 6 hours or so, and then we're going to see the big changes. Mild weather first thing Saturday morning, then comes the much colder weather as we go into Saturday afternoon and going into Sunday. There is rain involved as well. Nothing heavy, I don't think. There's a slight chance we could see perhaps a thunderstorm, but that's not the big thing. The big concern will be the falling temperatures behind this kind of wavy front we have out there in the Ohio Valley, but it is making some headway and will be getting here. Tomorrow morning, probably late in the morning, between about 9 and noon. Temperatures in the 70s out ahead of the front will fall quickly. You see where we have it, Chicago and St. Louis and Minneapolis. Minneapolis is almost into the 30s right now. Yikes. By the way, wanted to tell you about Iris. Iris is a brand new tropical storm, and it is going to miss Puerto Rico. It's going to hit the southern part of Hispaniola, and there is a hurricane warning out there, and now the government of Cuba has a hurricane watch out for that island. We're going to see no hurricanes here. It will be windy, but not that windy. Look for the temperatures to begin to go down, and going into the afternoon hours, things will be getting much, much cooler. Oh, we're looking at the 5-day. Well, let's just do that. That's fine. Look for temperatures to drop into the 40s for Sunday morning, and then 30s for Monday morning, and 20s for Tuesday morning. That's the first freeze. That means we can have Indian summer after that, and that's probably going to happen next week. Thursday and Friday, we'll be back up into the 70s. So this is a cold snap. Back to you in the studio.
All right, thank you, Miles. After a 3-week delay because of the events on September 11th, the Emmy Awards will go on this Sunday night, but there will be a very different look.
Indeed, there will be no tuxedos or glamorous dresses as there have been in years past. Instead, the attendees will dress in a more businesslike style. Also nixed from the ceremony, the famous red carpet and those bleachers full of fans as the stars arrive.
The Emmys air Sunday night here on Channel 3 at 8 o'clock. Joe's here with some breaking news.
We do have some very big news. Let's get right to it. Let's show you the videotape of what happened in San Francisco just moments ago. Folks, this is baseball history. Barry Bonds just hit home run number 71 in the first inning. It came against the Dodgers' Chan Ho Park. It was a towering shot. So now Barry Bonds has replaced Mark McGwire